Well, good morning, everybody. Mercury's not even going direct or going retrograde yet, and I'm already having fun out here. I had my Be Live thing all ready to go and scheduled, and somehow their server couldn't be found, and it was just kind of crazy. So I had to think quick. Thankfully, I'm a Gemini, and the moon's in Gemini today, so I could think quick enough to go, without Jason, I can just do Facebook Live all on my own. So I don't really even need Be Live. And maybe that was the whole point this morning, to show me that I didn't have to pay for that extra platform because I can do it all myself. I don't know. We shall see what happens with this. But good morning, everybody. I see you, Roseanne. Good morning. It's good to see you, Petra and Suzanne Fulmer. Awesome stuff Suzanne shared with me this morning for you all. And later today, I will be posting it right here on the Living Astrology Facebook page. Yesterday, we had our conversation about the chakras, and she sent me some really wonderful stuff about that. So I'm going to want to share that for you or with you from her, but it'll be right here. And I think, Suzanne, I'm going to put it into a Word document, and then people can download it if they want to print it and so forth for later on. So welcome, everybody, this morning. I'm hoping you're finding me. It looks like some of my regulars are finding me here okay. Today we have the moon in Gemini. We've left Taurus, and now we have the moon sitting in the very communicative sign of Gemini. And Gemini also, it's kind of a good placement for the moon because we're able to use our mental faculties very easily, especially when unexpected things happen, right? I didn't panic. I just went, okay, I am going to have to use Facebook Live instead of Be Live. And it was all fine. I can see you all great. Good morning, Michelle. Good to see you, Natasha. And so today I have a couple of interesting things. Of course, it's Happy Friday. And that means today we'll be talking about the energies for the weekend. And so let's just dive right on in, because I also want to have a conversation with you all today about the void of course moon. I've been promising you that I was going to talk to you about it, and I just decided this morning it was a good time to actually dig into that. So we begin the day today with really very interesting energies, not because the moon is in Gemini, but because the moon in Gemini happens to be squaring all those pesky little planets that we have in Pisces right now. And so we have some, that conflict court kind of energy that is out there. And so we can expect some emotional things. We can expect tension. And if you happen to be particularly worry prone right now for any reason, right, whether it's money, relationships, job pressures, that kind of thing, it's going to feel a little bit more exaggerated or exacerbated today while the moon is squaring all of these different planets. So the moon will square the sun, the moon will square Mercury, the moon will square Neptune, and the moon will square Venus, all in succession as we go along through the day. Not to worry. Don't, when you find yourself in that feeling, then all you have to do is go, oh yeah, it's this square that's going to all of these planets, and this too shall pass. It will pass. It's not going to be an entire day long kind of thing. And just as I say that, I go, yeah, but when we get later into the evening, then the moon will begin to square Chiron. And that one might be another interesting time period, because Chiron is our wound. And here's what I would like for you all to think about. When the moon comes across a planet, it is giving us another opportunity to heal the emotion that we're carrying around that planet. Now, we're not always so tuned into that, right? I sit here every day and I tell you what the moon is doing, but maybe I've never really connected the dots for you in that the moon is carrying your emotional state. It's carrying the emotional state not only for you personally, but for the entire collective. So we are all in the throes of this energy together. The only difference is, where is the moon in your personal chart? Which, by the way, next week on Tuesday, we'll be going back to Zoom just for that one day so we can look at charts, and maybe we can, explore the moon in a couple of people's charts and what that is doing to them. So overall, it is everybody that is experiencing the energy of the moon, but it's different where it is in everybody's chart. So everybody today is experiencing these squares, right? The square to the sun, Mercury, Neptune, and Venus. So be nice to people. Be nice to yourself. right? People that there are so many people out there that are not in the know, right? They're not tuning in the mornings to find out what's going on astrologically, or in some cases they don't even care, right? Or they have no clue that any of this is going on. They just know that they're feeling ill at ease, perhaps, or they're worried, or they're upset. They're not really as in tune. So, be compassionate. Offer up compassion to the people around you who are blinded to what's going on in their astrology charts, perhaps, or even in the astrology at large. I'm not saying by any means that this is a bad day today. Excuse me, my throat is still behaving badly. I'm not saying this is going to be a bad day at all. I just know that there are going to be times when things pop up and the tension is going to be palpable, and you're going to be wanting to break that tension some way. So don't go and do weird things, right? Don't yell at people. Don't get in your car and start road raging. Probably the likely pathway for some of this tension to be expressed is through the voice, right? So don't get into saying things today that you don't want to say. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, Norma. Nice to see you out there. So compassion, both for yourself and for your fellow human beings, especially those who may not be as enlightened as you are to what is happening up in the stars. Now, as we move into Saturday, the moon is still in Gemini early in Saturday morning until, or actually most of the day. So the thing I said about the moon squaring Chiron isn't going to happen until tomorrow. Let me make that clear, because it's not going to make it to the 26th degree of Gemini today, but tomorrow it will. It moves out of Gemini at 10:06 p.m. East Coast time, 7:06 p.m. our time on the West Coast tomorrow. So you can expect that it'll be tomorrow afternoon, perhaps, when somehow your wound gets triggered, or you inadvertently trigger someone else's wound, and that issue will be coming up. So you're safe from that one today. Today's just this. By the way, some of the tensions today may be vague and hard for you to pin down, like where is this coming from? And that makes it even more important that you keep your lips zipped, right? That you don't spread any kind of ugliness from words. And if other people are spreading that to you, be prepared to love them and be compassionate towards them anyway, right? So tomorrow, all day, moon in Gemini. And here's where we come up against the void of course moon that I want to talk to you about today. I'll talk about Sunday before I get into the details of the void of course moon. But the moon will be void of course from about 2:58 p.m. And the void of course moon's last contact before void is Uranus. So here's how I like to, it seems like the last couple of times that the moon has been void of course, it has had some kind of relationship to Uranus. And here's how I think about that. I get this great idea, this epiphany, this aha, and yet I can't do anything with it. Like, right, this is what happens to me all the time. Saturday, or whatever day, doesn't really matter. I get this great idea and I want to work on my website, or I want to write an article, but I have a family thing to do that day, right? I have a barbecue to go to, I have a party to go to, or a football game to go to. Well, now it's lacrosse and basketball. Something is in the way of me being able to enact that idea, which is a good thing, because the moon would have been void of course after that, and all action around that would have been probably having to be redone. So that's how I always think about the void of course moon. I'm up to this point and it's exciting, and I have this aha, this revelation, I want to do it, and then it all falls apart until the moon moves into the next sign. And what we'll see then is that the moon moves into Cancer at 7:06 p.m. our time on the Pacific Coast on Saturday. And then the good news is that means that all day Sunday, the moon is in Cancer, and the moon is at home in Cancer. It's her domicile. It's her home. She loves it here. And so we find ourselves really connected to home and to mother and to the things that we like that nurture us, baking cookies, cupcakes, eating together, watching, great shows together, being together with your family, with your friends is really something that the moon in Cancer loves and appreciates. So Sunday is that day for us. But there's a couple other things going on Sunday that I want to make sure you're aware of. And that is, first of all, Mercury will be conjunct Neptune that day in the sign of Pisces. Remember, we're dealing with a lot of Pisces energy all the way through the rest of this month and into next week. So really up until next week is March. Oh my goodness. So all the way through the first few days in March even, we are dealing with a stellium of planets in Pisces. Stellium meaning just a congregation of several, 4 or more planets. So we have Mercury conjuncting Neptune, and that means, my guess is Saturday night into Sunday morning, dreams, psychic impressions, emotional knee-jerk things coming up. Remember, Mercury is the planet that rules the mind as well as communication, and Neptune rules the higher self and unconditional love, but also places where we don't see things clearly, where there's, what is that called, sort of a veil across what you see, which means that you're not really seeing things clearly. It was like this morning, I was trying to see if it was snowing yet, but I couldn't quite tell because I'm looking at a window with a screen in it. And so the screen was kind of making things look a little fuzzy for me, so I couldn't quite tell what was going on. So in this case then, Sunday is probably not going to be a good idea to make big decisions, even though the moon won't be void of course anymore. But we might not be able to see clearly. Our mind may be a little befuddled. Our mind may not be able to exactly get to the points that we want to get to. And if you're trying to write or speak something of importance to people, it can take on an emotional tinge, or it can take on not being really very clear. And in that case, then do you really want to have deep or important conversations with people? Well, let's put it this way. If it's a conversation of the heart, where you really want to be able to share with someone how you're feeling about something, that might be a good conversation. But if you have to get into a business-like conversation with anybody, that might not be the best kind of conversation. Because what's going to be emphasized is our emotional bodies, our feelings. And business and feelings don't often go together well. But heart-centeredness, when you're having a conversation with a loved one, do work out well during this kind of transit. The other thing that's happening... the other thing that's happening on Sunday is Venus squaring Mars, challenging the feminine and the masculine. So finding balance in however you choose to do anything on Sunday is exactly that, right? What you need to have is balance. The balance between receiving and giving, and the balance between masculine and feminine. And that's the key to making Sunday work really well for you. All right. So let's go back to the void of course moon. Let me check what are people saying here. Suzanne, she says she's a complete moon child, Cancer with Libra moon. Wow, yes you are. Norma says that moon in Pisces. I'm thinking that you mean, Norma, that the moon is in Pisces in your chart. So this is an important time. I'd love to find out from you what's going on in your life. Are you having vivid dreams? Are you coming into information that you don't, like knowingness, where you don't know where you're getting what you're getting, but you are? Yes, she says, yes, she is. I love that. So Natasha says, planning the feng shui of the house to bring the Chinese New Year energy in. Ooh, that's a great idea too, right? Feng shui, home energy, the flow. The moon on Sunday, by the way, is in very a supportive place with the planets that are in Pisces. They would be what we would say is a trine, and a trine is an ease and flow of energy. So of course we would be thinking about flow. Of course we would be thinking about things being easy. Cancer being a water sign, Pisces being a water sign, and Scorpio being a water sign. All three are in a nice flow over the weekend. I like that. Emotions can run high during that time though, so just be aware of that. Try not to get yourself, try not to fall into somebody else's emotions or somebody else's emotional outburst. Don't get drug into it. Stay back from it. Become the observer. But then also you know, sometimes they say, I think it's a Chinese medicine or Chinese herbalism. I'm not sure where I would have gotten this, but the cure for something is the exact opposite of it. So if somebody that you're around is having an emotional breakdown, you need to bring in the Mercury aspect, the calm, cool, collected, I can think clearly part of you, so that you're not feeding into the emotional part of them. So I'm not sure where I got that, but that's exactly what we can do. Suzanne saying she has been, why can't I put that comment up? Maybe you guys are seeing the comments stream across. I don't know, because I'm, you know, in a different sort of atmosphere here. But essentially, Norma is saying she's seeing spirits everywhere, which usually indicates a catastrophe about to happen when she sees this. Well, let's pray that it's not that. But if it is, there's nothing we can do about it. If it's an earth change, we're completely right. We just have to be present in the moment. We can't complain about what's happened. We can't keep the emotion tied to it. We just have to go with the flow. Okay. Wow. The reason that strikes me, Norma, and for you guys listening, is because I had a dream. God. Yeah. I had a dream often in my life when I have psychic dreams, or I have, what do you call those, precogs or precognition type dreams where I'm seeing the future. In my dream, I am up above a map and I'm looking down at the map and I'm seeing the place where the problem is going to be. So this morning, I woke up from a dream where I was up above the map. And as I'm waking up, I'm like, damn, I didn't really catalog, where is this? But the word that was coming to my mind was New Hampshire. But that doesn't make sense to me because I was seeing like the whole of the United States. So now I'm confused as to that, but I'm also now kind of feeding in a little bit to what Norma is saying, that maybe there is something going on. In my dream, I could see the little foot that comes out from Massachusetts, you know, the Cape Cod thing that jumps out there into the water. But I didn't see it as then something had happened there, but it seemed like something from coast to coast. Maybe that's what it is, that it's something that affects all of us. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Norma, I love that. Just observing. Yeah. I can feel that little bit of panic rising up inside of me as I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I did have that dream, and that usually tells me something's happening. So I'm just going to go calm now, and I'm just going to say, like, I can't, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. We'll just pray for peace through it and as little impact as needs to happen for whatever it is that's going to happen, if it's going to happen. Okay. And, you know, other people, Suzanne, I see that you say you've been extremely emotional. So many people have been telling me this, that they've been so emotional. And you can thank all of those planets in Pisces for that for you. And especially if you're someone who has Pisces already defined pretty well in your chart, then all of these planets are transiting right across the planets you have in Pisces. Or maybe you have a lot of planets in Virgo. So by opposition, the planets in Pisces are affecting the ones that are in Virgo. So yeah, or even if you've got Gemini, Sagittarius energy, you're being challenged by planets in Pisces and Virgo. So it's really kind of an interesting dynamic, which is why I love looking at charts to see what are the answers to what is happening for us personally. Okay, so Norma's telling me, yes, she sees the comments. So I'm glad that you guys are seeing the comments. Love it. So let's go back to the void of course moon for a moment. So I actually found a chart this morning of all the void of course moons. And because I don't normally use the void of course moon, but now that I'm thinking back to times in my life where things have blown up or didn't work out the way I thought they would, the moon was probably void of course, because there are specific things that aren't necessarily supported when the moon goes void of course. So just to give you an example, we have the last void of course moon we had before today, or before the 24th, which is Saturdays, would have been on the 22nd, which would be Thursday. Yep. At 6:46 a.m. This is East Coast time. to 7:07 p.m. that night. So from the very end of the moon's transit in Taurus until the moment it moved into Gemini. Now, that would have been, that looks like that's nearly an entire day. So everybody think back to your Thursday. Yesterday was Thursday. Holy cow. Okay, so this is a perfect example. But it was good. It wasn't a bad example. Yesterday, I had a client first thing in the morning, and after I worked with you all in the morning, and then I finished with her, and then my daughter and I were going to go shopping. And we had this whole thing planned out, right? We were going to go to Costco. We were going, we had some errands to run, and I had this thing in my mind. I was going to go do some other shopping at Fred Meyer with her and get some things done. Well, the day did not go that way at all. It did not go badly. We just ended up doing things out of order. We didn't even end up at Costco until 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And yet the day went really well. Why? Because I wasn't kicking and screaming that we have to stick at the schedule, right? I wasn't like so tied into the schedule that I had to, that I would not enjoy the time I had with her anyway. And so void of course moons mean often things aren't going to turn out the way you planned. So if you are starting something under a void of course moon, it's probably not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen, or it won't happen at all, or it'll take off and then it'll drop off, especially when the moon goes back into being connected with other planets. So it is kind of important if you have something big coming up, like let's say you're getting married, or let's say you are buying a house, you don't want to be signing the papers on the house when a void of course moon is there. And you may not want to be getting married under a void of course moon. And it may be that you don't want to do certain business things like, a big meeting or a big presentation under a void of course moon. So we're going to start paying attention to that. And so the next void of course moon that we have is the one I was speaking about earlier, that begins at 2:58 tomorrow afternoon and lasts until 10:06 p.m. And these are East Coast time, so subtract 3 hours for us on the West Coast. And that would be the time when the moon moves into Cancer, when we again begin to have things going on. So luckily this is a Saturday that this is happening, right? Not many of us begin big projects or anything on a Saturday, or something new, or do a lot of business. But I would be ready to expect these sort of unexpected. If you are, maybe you already have something planned and you can't avoid the void of course moon. Well, you have to go ahead and know that there may be time for you to have to redo the plan a bit, right? Rework the plan. And we have another one coming up on the 28th of February, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, at 6:13 p.m. East Coast time, so that'd be 3:13 our time. So not really overly effective, right? So I think we are kind of getting a reprieve in that a lot of these void of course moons over the next few days are really happening later in the day, in the middle of the night, when we're not necessarily out and about and trying to do our lives. So more about that as time goes on. So here's some examples. Okay, so somebody tell me in the chat, do you understand the void of course moon? Do you understand what I mean by void of course? Let me repeat something here. The void of course moon begins when Luna makes her last contact to a planet before changing signs. So today the moon is in Gemini all day. We're not going to be changing signs. So we don't have a void of course moon today. But tomorrow, because Luna is getting ready to change signs, we're looking for the last contact she's going to make before she changes signs. And the void of course moon lasts from that moment until the time she moves into the new sign. Okay. And that was where I said the last planet that the moon was going to connect to tomorrow before moving out into void of course is Uranus. So that means there may be some surprises or something that comes up, and then there's nothing you can do about it for the next several hours while the moon is void of course. Typically, we have impaired judgment as people. And remember, this is happening to everyone. It doesn't matter where the moon is in your chart, it's still void of course for everybody. So everybody is subjected to impaired judgment, perhaps, mass unreality, right? Masses of people not really seeing things clearly. And I have to wonder, and I don't know if there's astrologers that have looked at this or not, but I wonder if the Brexit vote happened under a void of course moon. And the reason I ask that is because it seems to be falling apart. They can't seem to get it together to do anything. And I also wondered if our illustrious president was elected under a void of course moon, or if his inauguration perhaps was in a void of course moon, because he certainly has his own issues, but he does seem to be plagued by things happening, and what he does seems to affect us all. So that might be something fun for me to do some research into. It's almost as if we are detached from reality during the void of course moon. We may feel more spacey, more hard for us to concentrate or focus on anything. We may feel not connected to our usual abilities or our usual selves. So that when you're feeling that, you're probably feeding into that void of course moon. And or at least take a look at it and find out, if the moon is void of course at that time. I have a whole list here of some things not to do during a void of course moon, and I'll probably post this for you because look, there's a whole lot of them. So I'm just going to pick out a few of them right now. Some examples of don'ts during a void of course moon. Don't submit your resume for a new job, either by email or snail mail. Don't be interviewed for a new job or do a business presentation. Don't start a new job under a void of course moon. Now, some of these things are out of your control, right? If the void of course moon happens to start at 8 o'clock in the morning of the day you're starting a new job, I think what you have to do is start your new job, right? If you can help not starting then great. But if it falls on a void of course moon and it's unavoidable, you'll just have to stick with it and see what happens. Make as many adjustments as you can during the time that the moon is void of course. Don't make big purchases, right? Don't get cars or, homes, anything big. Don't negotiate prices during this time. Don't have elective surgery. That's going to be important too to understand as we get into the summer, later in the summer when Venus turns to retrograde, because you don't have elective surgery, certainly not cosmetic surgery during a Venus retrograde. So don't open a business, don't host a party or social affair. At least not something that you really have an idea of how you want it to go. Do, under a void of course moon, pray and meditate, sleep and dream. Anything to do with the non-material world you can play with. Let someone start proceedings against you in court, because if that happens, it's not gonna happen in a way that they want it to. And it is a good time to end a relationship or get divorced or close a business. I don't know what I think about those. Those are pretty big things that happen, not just in a moment in time. Those are things that are coming over time. So I'm not sure what I think about that. But let's play with it, right? We can play with these energies and we can kind of watch them in our charts and we can watch them in our day-to-day world. And I will cue you in on the times that a void of course moon is coming. And for those of you out there who are my investigator types in human design, keep a notebook, right? If you journal, just note what happened during the void of course moon. And let's just do an experiment and see if this is something that's even worthy of our attention. I suspect it might be, but I suspect life goes on even if we do know that there's a void of course moon and we do what we have to do in the moment. I mean, after all, it has to be practical for us, right? It's not practical to say, oh, well, I can't start my job at 8 o'clock on Monday because the moon is void of course. Not practical. So Living Astrology would say then, okay, we need to live through this and see what we can make the best of what we have. Right? What is it? If the world gives you lemons, make lemonade. So, but if we can consciously connect with the fact, and these charts are done up, the void of course charts are done up months and months, even a year ahead of time. So we know right now, if you're planning on opening a business on, let's just make it a big example. Let's say you're going to open a business on April 1st of this year. So I'm going to find my handy dandy April and I'm going to go to April 1st and I'm going to say, ooh, the moon is void of course that day from 2:29 p.m. East Coast time until 6:57 p.m. East Coast time. So you're going to open your business in the morning. right? You're going to get that business rolling before that moon goes void of course. If you are going to get married, you're going to do the same thing. If you're going to do anything big, even taking a trip, we can look at the void of course chart and we can find out what time not to initiate this. All right. Put the card of the day up with the chakra stuff. Now, where did you put that, Suzanne? Did you put it on this page? If you put it on, if you're looking at the Living Astrology Facebook page, Suzanne may have already put up the chakra information that she talked to us about yesterday, or that I talked to you about through her yesterday, and also the card of the day. I'm going to see if I can pull up the message she sent me. And let's see, you sent that to me in Messenger, didn't you? So where did she go? No, she didn't send it to me in Messenger. Yes, she did. Oh, I know you sent it through my living. Okay. Anyway, I can't bring it up right now. Hold the phone. That is so annoying. But I guess I'm just going to have to be okay with that. So if she posted the card, it was the something of Pentacles, the prince or the princess of Pentacles. It was really a beautiful card. She uses a tarot deck called the Shadowscapes and Shadowscapes Tarot, and the card was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's Messenger. I think you've got me through my Living Astrology Messenger, Suzanne, and I have to find that. I can't just readily access that on my phone. So anyway, I will share the picture of the card if she hasn't already done that, but it was a beautiful message, and I hope she posted the message with it. I bet she did. So lastly, I decided to pull a card for us all for the weekend, and I did it rather quickly because I realized, oh my gosh, I only have a minute left for us to go live. So I like it when that happens that way, because then I'm not like, I don't have time to overthink what card is being pulled out. And so the card I pulled out was this beautiful card. Let's see if you can see it with the moon. You see the moon in it? And it's the card Imagine. She came out upright, but look at all the beautiful rays of light. The color in this card is just gorgeous. Like today I had this thing about peacocks. I'm wearing my peacock earrings. I'm wearing my peacock colored scarf. I don't know, somehow peacocks just felt really good to me. I'm looking at that going, oh, that's peacock of light. And so the card is Imagine. And Imagine, and this, like I said, is the energy for the whole weekend because I didn't pull 3 separate cards. The essential meaning is turning imagination into manifestation, creative thought, visualization, the power of aligning imagery and feelings, and creativity and illusions. So the message from the oracle is, who do you want to be? What do you need to believe in order to have the life you want? You were gifted with the power to imagine. If you can dream it, you can create it. This is the time when your imagination is the key to manifesting the life you desire. Spend time daydreaming. That's perfect with Pisces energy too, by the way. Spend time daydreaming, fashioning a vision board to help you see your goals, or meditating. Allow the power of your creativity to deliver images of what feeds your soul. Then allow your feelings to mingle with your inspirations and imagine these things being real right now. Then repeat. What you imagine will become your belief, and soon you will see these things come to pass in the outer world as if by magic. My favorite word. So there you have it. Imagination, right? What you can conceive of, you can create. And there was some other profound thing I was going to say about that. Oh, yes, but I didn't say it. This was from, what was his name? His name is James Twyman. And he wrote a book years and years ago that I thought was pretty profound, and it was about the psychic children. And some of you might remember this. These were messages. Suzanne, you can't find it either. I'm going to die laughing. It's here somewhere. I will get it. He was writing a book about the psychic children and the messages that psychic children were bringing to us as adults. And one of the things, the messages that really I took to heart was this concept of pretending. And if you break the word pretend down, it is before, pretending, having. So before having. And so children are very cued into imagination. And for them, life is real, whether it's in their imagination or whether it's their real life, they view it as real. So our opportunity is to take what we want and what we desire and pretend it's already there, that it is real. And then we begin to really resonate with it's almost like we visualize it into creation. I swear that's what we do. I swear that's what happened to me the other day with the book. I mean, I don't know that any invisible person came along and put it there for me, but I do believe that I materialized it, or what maybe I couldn't see became seeable when I believed that that book was going to show up, or I was going to get it one way or another. So it's interesting, right? Are we materializing things? And quantum physics experiments kind of back this up, that we are experiencing that nothing is until we observe it into being. So a particle of a light is a wave until we observe it, and then it becomes a point of light, a particle. So when you're not so what you want, if it's prosperity, if it's debt freedom, if it's a loving relationship, it's out here. It's a wave right now, right? It's a wave of potential, let's call it. And all that's needed for you to bring it into a point, to bring it into a particle, which means it's in physical manifestation, is to believe it, observe it being there in your life. I know that sounds really simplistic, but there's so much between us in our minds that takes us out of that, right? Whether it's belief or just our continued thoughts of what I don't have. And it doesn't have to be that way. The psychic children basically were telling Jimmy Twyman that years ago. Pretend. So today, pretend you have everything you ever wanted. You have love, you have blessings, you have all the money you need to do whatever it is you want to do. Your debt pile is down and everything is going well in your life. And keep that in your mind as something you're manifesting, and watch it materialize out of nowhere based on your imagination. Let's back it up. Now you can maybe see the color. Anyway, I wish you all the best of days, the happiest of weekends. I love you all, and we'll see you on Monday morning right here, either on Facebook Live or Be Live, whichever one's working. And Tuesday we'll go back to Zoom so we can do some chart readings. If you're someone who wants a chart, make sure you tell me. I already know, Katie, you want one. I know Petra wanted one. There's someone else that escapes my attention at the moment. And if you want a chart, let me know. Okay? All right, everybody, take care. Have a stellar week or weekend, and I'll see you Monday morning. Bye for now.